And guys, this is what can happen when the wheel digs in. So you can see as I make my way underneath the A-10, you can see that the wheel. All right, so behind me we got the mighty Warthog, the A-10 on the move. And they're getting it out of the way so that they can get this F-16 lowered down, this Thunderbird jet. Obviously near and dear to my heart, that red, white, and blue F-16, there's just something awesome about it. But we gotta get the A-10 moved first, so that's what's happening right now. And one day, you're only gonna be able to find this A-10 in heritage locations like this because they're going away. So soaking this in, watching this thing move is pretty awesome. And coming up behind me also, we've got a crane pulling up. That's gonna be the other side of the F-16. So they're gonna put that right next to it, and they're gonna allow the crane to cradle the front and the back of this F-16 Thunderbird jet, just as soon as we can get the A-10 out of the way. Come on, A-10, how rude. Don't you know we got an F-16 to move? So like I talked about earlier, the precision of these tow drivers is pretty incredible. So watching this, getting that close, gives me the heebie-jeebies, because obviously, as a pilot, you're never gonna be able to get that close, because you just can't see from the cockpit. So that's why we got wing walkers and people keeping track of that wing with whistles, with the mighty whistle. One blow of this whistle, and everything changes. It's a lot of power for one whistle. You guys can see just how close that A-10 wing is to the F-16 pylon. I flew pretty close when I was on the Thunderbirds. Didn't get quite this close, but you know, pretty close. Just kidding. So we got within like 3 feet, sometimes as close as 18 inches on the Thunderbirds, but yeah, I'd be willing to try this. Just kidding. So pilots actually call it the titanium bathtub because there's titanium on the underneath side of the A-10. So underneath there, you could take a pretty heavy round and not even, like maybe you feel like a bump, oh, shot at me, no big deal. Now you're gonna get hit with a 30mm cannon, right? So this thing's just a beast. We got the chocks being pulled out now, so this jet's gonna start moving. But at the end of the day, the way that this thing could take a punishment in battle is unlike anything else. That's why, to me, this is probably one of my favorite aircraft, if not the favorite aircraft. Quick little secret is I put this number 1 on my dream sheet out of pilot training, but they were having wing spar issues. So the way that this thing turns and burns down low with that thick air, it's a lot of stress is put on the airframe. And a lot of times they're doing safe escape maneuvers to get away from the ground, because you shoot a high incendiary round, hits the ground or hits a tank, and you have a secondary explosion. You don't want to be down there when this thing when you have to pull back up, right? You want to be away from the ground. So you're going to pull up really rapidly, pull G's with a rapid onset, and that can be tough on the wing spars. So that's why there weren't any of these available. But I had to go fly the F-15E. So sad, right? You're probably like rolling your eyes at me right now. Like, dude, you better not be complaining, which I'm not. I'm just saying that there's something about this aircraft that just, it's such a beast. So we'll take a peek at it now. You've got redundant flight control systems. You've got actuators, hydraulic actuators on the underneath side, ailerons. Look how thick they are. Just the strength of them. It's essentially like a tank. So you're in a flying tank when you're in this thing. Most aircraft don't have that thickness built in, and this thing just looks like it works out. Again, something about aircraft to me that look like they work out, I'm a big fan of. Now we're coming back to the vertical tail. And then this is the horizontal stabilizer. You can just see how thick it is. And taking a peek in the back, looking at the engines there, just this thing's just a monstrosity. There's a look down the back of the A-10. Again, you can just see the way that this thing worked was built for a purpose, functional. You got dual rudder setup. Just a very maneuverable aircraft. You can turn this thing on a dime. There's actually a story of an A-10 shooting down an F-22 because this thing can turn on a dime. So F-22 loses situational awareness. They're down low, they're going slow for whatever the reason, and the A-10 rolls in behind them. It can happen. We did some dogfights with A-10s in the F-15E, and you can't think it's gonna be an easy day, because one of these rolls in behind you, obviously it was simulated at the time, but with that 30mm cannon, I would say like half of one of those rounds you're done for. So if one of those hit you, it's gonna be a bad day for an enemy fighter. Obviously not their primary mission, but they do carry AIM-9s. So we'll take a peek down the rocket pod here. And then you've got some other air-to-ground weaponry. And then we'll take a peek up top of the wing. And then again, all this description I'm doing while they're moving this thing, just because kind of get 2-for-1 deal here. You get to see how they're getting this A-10 out of this tight spot, and you're getting to see just some details, some background on this bad boy. A close air support monster. Coming around the front of the jet. The durability of this thing, everything's got a backup. So that's why you got the 2 engines, you've got redundant flight control systems. The only thing that you don't have backed up is the pilot. You only got one of those. So he or she is up there alone and unafraid, flying in combat, single cockpit setup. And there is the business end. There's the gun. I'll give you guys a nice close-up of that situation, that gun situation. That's something you don't want to be looking down the barrel of right there. And I believe it fires at the 9 o'clock position. So every time this gun hits the 9 o'clock position, you're going to get a round coming out. You do not want to be on the business end of that gun. All right, now we'll post up. Shout out to Post Malone. No, I'm just kidding. We'll do a little post up and we will watch the A-10 get pulled out. We got John driving this tug. So we'll watch John operate here. And guys, this is what can happen when the wheel digs in. So you can see as I make my way underneath the A-10, you can see that the wheel has dug in. So off-roading in this A-10 so far has been sinking in a little bit. So we've got to reinforce the structure there to actually get it through. And so that's what the team's doing right now. And it may have been able to get pulled, but you never know if that lip's gonna catch, do something to the structure of the landing gear. You don't want that. But the A-10 is a heavier jet than what you would think, just because of all the reinforcement, the titanium that's in this thing, the steel that's in this thing, the different composites that are in it that are strong. They're meant to take bullets. So that's why this is digging in so deep. All right, so the crash recovery crew is putting down mobile runway, right? Mobile epic, removable Kevlar runway. It's a modular chunks of runway that they can put down that are steel reinforced. They're a composite material on top of that. And yeah, this is how you're gonna get this jet. We're gonna get this jet off-roading just like we did with the SR-71. So if you haven't seen the SR-71 off-roading video, that is on this channel as well. It may not have released at the time that I'm recording or releasing this one, but it will soon. So off-roading's happening with the A-10 now, and you can see the wingspan. It means wingspan in Latin. This is the big factor here, is as we move this thing up towards the hill, you gotta be careful that doesn't scrape. And you can see that there's that dip down, basically that concave structure in the bottom of the wing. Don't know what that's called, but that is gonna be a factor as you get closer to the edge. So the way he's handling this one is just avoiding this altogether. So that's a power move. I never thought I would see an A-10 off-roading. This is epic. All right, now we just have that one big hairpin turn up front. The SR-71 made it through it, so I know the A-10's gonna make it through it, but it's different. It's a different problem. And it's just an A-10, so it's fun to look at. So that wing on the right cleared. That was the tough one. Now you got the berm on the left, making sure that's clear. I feel like this A-10 was built for this. If there's any jet that's made to off-road, it's the A-10. Off-roading in a Warthog. No big deal. Like butter, baby, making that turn. Oh yeah, just smooth. There we go. Making the turn like a champ. Shout out to Daryl for making that look easy. So there you go, guys. Warthog made it off-roading, safe and sound. Everything you'd see a Warthog off-roading, me neither. Pretty epic. Thanks so much for watching the video. Really appreciate having you guys here. We'll see you on the next one. Most of all, Have a great day.